All right, well, welcome and thank you to our audience for joining us for today's panel discussion. We're going to focus on the experience of teams through the UAccel Regional I-Corps program and the National NSF I-Corps program. My name is Laura Halligan, and I'm the Executive Director here at Launch Blue at the University of Kentucky, and I'm the lead instructor for the UK UAccel Regional I-Corps program. For those who are new to this program, the U.S. National Science Foundation's Innovation Corps, better known as I-Corps program, was launched in 2011 to support the NSF's mission to promote the progress of science, advance national health, prosperity, and welfare, and to secure the national defense. So through experiential learning using the customer discovery process, the I-Corps program allows teams to quickly assess the market potential of their inventions. I-Corps prepares scientists and engineers to extend their focus beyond the laboratory to increase the economic and societal impact of NSF-funded and other basic research projects. So the University of Kentucky hosts a statewide regional I-Corps program called UAccel I-Corps program through our Launch Blue initiative, and you can learn more by checking out our website. So that's a little background about what I-Corps is. I'm going to briefly introduce our panelists that we have with us today. I'll start with Katie Noack, who is the founder and CEO of Canvas, as well as the Director of Investor Relations at Ultra Venture Partners. And she served as the expert industry mentor for the Graham Test team in the National NSF I-Corps program. We also are joined by Hala Nasruddin. She is an associate professor in construction engineering and project management at the UK Pigman College of Engineering Career and Co-op Center. She is also the inventor and was the technical lead for the DataDose team, who completed our UAccel program and then went on to complete National I-Corps program. In fact, just this last week, they finished that. So congratulations,
Thank
Hala and
you.
Amin. That's awesome. We also have Alan Gates, who is a graduate student at Northern Kentucky University and the entrepreneurial lead for the Pet Health Validator team, who completed our spring UAccel Regional NSF I-Corps program. And that team had also previously completed a national I-Corps program as well. And then we also have, last but not least, David Eaton, who is a research program manager at the UK Center for Applied Energy Research. He served as a technical lead for the BioValor team in the National NSFI Core program last fall, and was the entrepreneurial lead for the Stillage people in our recent Summer UAccel regional NSFI core program. So a lot of the folks have done both regional and national, and we can talk more about their experiences. But thank you so much to all of our panelists for joining us here today and sharing your experience with us. I want to start off with the question to our ELs and TLs. How did you first hear about the regional I-Corps program, and what convinced you to participate in a program like this?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Ning Wei, who I worked with in the BioValor Nationals, talked about the value of going through it. So I heard it through word of mouth. And after having experienced the Nationals, I became, very excited in general about the program. And so that was how I found out about it.
Awesome. Hala?
So we've got an office of proposal development here at the University of Kentucky, and I had an idea for potential grant. So when I talked to Shauna with PDO, she suggested that the topic really does not fit a traditional grant and suggested that I reach out to the Office of Technology Commercialization at UK. So I met with Liz, and Liz walked me through the different steps and the different options that we could have for a very applied technology-driven idea. And that's how I got into the UAccel program, and I dragged my graduate student into this as well.
Awesome. Alan, what about you?
Well, my advisor at NKU is Ankur Sadapai, invited me to kind of look at this program, and they had a project going on that really resonated with me a lot. It wasn't my idea originally, but as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's something that needs to work. Yeah. And he kind of turned me on to Launch Blue, and it really gave me a really nice structured way to kind of address it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So for Hala and Alan, Hala, you were able to pull in Amin, who was working in your lab, to be part of this experience and to get this type of skill. And then Alan, same thing for your mentor, right? He pulled you into the
Oh yeah.
program, gave you that experience. So we hear about that a lot, and it's a great way for faculty to be able to give or to encourage their graduate or postdoctoral students in their lab to expand their skill and to consider research in this new way and in translation, commercialization, and moving ideas to impact. That's awesome. Follow-up question. So looking back now, what was the most impactful part of your experience in the regional program? And what was it that motivated you all, for those who did, to apply to the national program?
I'll speak to that the most impactful thing for me, just the customer discovery interview process. I mean, that was as a grad student, for the last year and a half, I'd kind of learned to live in a world of theory and things like that, and that kind of flipped it. It made me test those assumptions that I was making by talking to actual people and seeing what their pain points were and what their needs were. Uh, so it really kind of it was a sea change for me. It fundamentally viewed or changed how I viewed the whole concept of an innovation.
Wow,
So,
that's awesome. Paula and David?
So for me, I would say the most impactful part of the regional program was allowing us to pivot based on the feedback that we were collecting from the customers. Because typically in the academic world, and we hear that a lot, as faculty, as students, you've got your hypothesis, you've got your questions, and you just really want to see this through. As we started the regional program, we were thinking about this digital twin big idea. And once we started talking with the customers, we discovered that they have more pressing needs. And that, yes, we can continuously talk about digital twins, but really it's not adding value to anyone. We are wasting our time and efforts here. So just kind of providing us with that flexibility, with that safe space to reshuffle our priorities and listen to what the customers want to say. And that eventually also helped us in the research process as well. So really that ability to pivot and then to learn to ask the correct questions for customer discoveries, because you don't want to walk in selling them something because you have nothing to sell yet. So it was trying to take a step backward and just refocus how we ask questions and what feedback we need to get from our customers.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Hall, I think throughout your regional program, I was so impressed with you and Amin and how deeply you connected with your potential customers and how much information you were able to gather in those interviews. You all did such a great job. It was incredibly impressive. David, what about you?
Well, when we first started out, we had made the discovery that the thin part of stillage, the liquid, was a good addition to concrete, and that we got really, in the process of talking to people, we really needed to talk to two disparate groups. One was of course, the cement users and makers, the people all along that chain, but also it was the other side was the distiller. In the process, it really got driven home. Were on both sides. This could kind of meet in the middle, and then it just kept expanding in the sense that Kentucky makes about 1 billion gallons a year, and right now it is a horrible problem. And so the discovery along the way, both by hypothesis driven questions and just hearing people talk, discovered a lot of stuff that we never even considered. So the scope of our interests expanded manifold on both sides. So that was the striking part of it. And the regional, you are talking to at least 20 people. It quickly bloomed, and it's still going. I mean, there's still contacts. People are asking to meet me for lunch now from conversations like that. So I guess the the thing that just totally struck me was that so much of it snowballed.
Alan was talking about, he's continuing in the customer discovery process currently, and it becomes part of your habit, right? And as you move forward, getting that kind of input and making use of that network to learn more about how you want to direct your research and also direct the solution to see the impact you want it to have. Katie, I wanted to switch over to you because as we talk about building national teams and people going ELs and TLs moving from the regional program into a national program, one of the critical requirements for the National I-Corps program is to have an experienced industry mentor join their team, right? And so one of our teams, the Graham Test, reached out to our friends over at the Venture Mentoring Team Service, and we're connected with you. What made you so excited to join the Graham Test? Because it's no small thing to commit to go through a National I-Corps program, especially as an industry mentor. So what was it that made you so excited to join that team?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for offering a little bit of the background on the position too. So I remember I've been mentoring with a venture mentoring team for a couple of years now. I dropped the link in the chat if anyone's interested who's in attendance today. And the CEO gave me a call and he mentioned, hey, we have an incredible team that's looking to go to National I-Corps. They're equestrians. I'm really impressed with their initial traction and desire to learn more. You have to have a conversation with them. So that warm introduction through our network really sort of changed the path or changed my life a little bit and giving me that experience to work with the Graham. As you mentioned, this is no small lift for industry mentors. And so a lot of national teams do struggle to find industry mentors who are willing to commit the time. For me, I decided to work with the Graham for the same reasons that I end up working with any founder, innovator, or team. So passion, first and foremost, is really significant to me. Building any new technology or any new business requires a level of fascination with your market and really deep desire to create an impact on the customers that you seek to serve. And the Graham, for background, is a concussion test for equestrians across disciplines, but originated in Lexington, focused on jockeys who, in the horse racing world, suffer a lot of injuries at the expense of the industry. And so the team's desire not only to work in the equestrian field, but to create an impact for those jockeys was really tangible to me from the first conversation. The second point that I always look for when I work with entrepreneurs is, again, what does their initial traction look like? Traction can mean anything. It could mean, hey, I've already talked to 20 people. It could be, hey, I've developed this first prototype in the lab and I've gotten, 3 jockeys to come down and try it. But just showcasing that passion can translate into boots on the ground, having an impact is really significant to me because that's something that we can continue to foster and grow. And then the third thing is interest co-alignment. So for me, I've been an equestrian since I was 5 years old, competitively. I actually had my first concussion while we were working on the Graham, which was
You're going to experience this yourself. Yeah.
yeah. So I had my first concussion while we were working on the Graham, but had many friends who have experienced it as well. So felt like I could be an interesting both commercialization mentor, but then also share my own experience. And then very lastly, the team was so strong on their product development, their technical chops, and I felt like my expertise in commercializing products would really help complete the picture for the program. So I purposely took some time to create that framework so that those of you in the audience or listening to the recording can just think about, if you put yourself in your industry mentor's shoes, who you're, looking to commit to the program, make sure that these 4 items, passion, traction, interest, co-alignment, and expertise, make sense for that mentor, and it will make your initial conversations go much more strongly as you start to bring them on the team.
That's excellent. And thank you for creating that framework for our audience here. I want to follow up to that because you do work with a lot of SERPs, both with PMT and in Canvas and in your investor relations role. What do you say would be the most important part of this type of experience in the I-Corps program for those who are looking to commercialize their research or to launch a product into the market?
Absolutely. So the founders or the innovators that I've met through this program have really strong product capability chops. They know how to build a product. Once they identify the features that are required, the expertise and the real competitive advantage around that is amazing. However, in order to develop a viable business, meaning one that generates more cash than goes out the door, you do have to start thinking about customer value and what your business model looks like. So we mentioned, or my fellow panelists here mentioned the importance of customer discovery. We also call that user research, but really using customer discovery and user research to fine tune the actual value proposition that you're giving your customers is really important. At the end of the day, you might think something is really cool, but your customers are going to be the ones to tell you how cool that is and put their money where their mouth is, right? So it's really important to get crisp and learn how to conduct those interviews and how to build those relationships. And that's something that will serve you beyond National I-Corps in everything that you do, that curiosity and way of uncovering, challenges that people face or where the real value is. And what's really cool, I love what Alan said about, moving from a world of theory into getting out of the building and talking to customers. I think that was a huge value add in that user research for our team. David mentioned that the conversation snowball. That's so true. I always joke good customer discovery is actually the start of business development or partnership development. So really taking these interviews seriously can reap dividends in the years to come. And then Hala mentioned how that user research can also help you pivot your technology. So being able to really go through that program, conduct the 100 interviews at the national scale, understand how to sort of absorb the most value possible from them will set you up for great success. And then the second thing I would mention too is business model design. So at the end of the day, as I mentioned, all businesses need to make money, even if you're not raising capital from investors, even if you're looking for grants and other opportunities to continue your technology, being able to paint an idea of like, hey, someday we're going to make a lot of money and not be as reliant on these sources is really important. And I thought I-Corps did a great job of starting to help teams think through how they grow, how they might think about monetization, and how to start laying the groundwork for that profitable business. So user research, business model development, two big challenge points that we see for product visionaries across the venture ecosystem. And I think it's true for any research builder as well. And so I think that those skill sets that I-Corps provides is just a really, really strong foundation.
Excellent. Yes. And Katie, with your experience in those worlds, it's very clear how that translates into an investable business if someone wants to raise that venture funding, having very clear way to explain how you're going to get customers, how you're serving those customers with a critical need, and how you're going to make money sustainably doing that. All those are things that you're going to have to know before even starting to talk to investors. Awesome. So for David and Hala, both of you served as the TL on your teams. What would you say to other faculty and researchers who are considering the I-Corps program? And they have a lot of demands on their time, right? They have research they have to conduct, they have classes they have to teach, they have graduate and postdocs they have to mentor, they have committees they have to serve on, and yet how do they make time? Why would they prioritize this experience? And what would you say to them if they're considering taking on a regional or even applying to a national program?
I've got a handful of lessons learned, and these are actually notes to myself if I ever go through I-Corps again. I would say from a time perspective, before getting into the I-Corps program, you have the ability to choose your cohort. And initially we had 3 options, and my preference was to go for cohort number 1, just because it aligns well with our grants, other commitments, classes, and so on. And then our industry mentor preferred cohort number 2. So we kind of understood that the IM was very important. So we went with their selection. In hindsight, I wish I had a discussion with our IM to see if we could still make cohort number 1 work. Just because the reality is the EL and the TL will be doing most of the work. So it does make sense for the cohort to fit the needs of the project rather than individuals. So that's one thing I would take with me for the future. Also select the cohort that offers you the most opportunities to go to conferences. We work in universities, so our administrators are experts at self-sabotaging. So we had our grant come through. That grant was never signed on time, never really had an account number on time, which meant we couldn't go to conferences on time. So we missed out on some opportunities. So anticipating some of those challenges, being proactive in finding alternative mechanisms, because they do exist, to spend the money and start charging the account before you actually have an official account on record, are very important to navigate, because you don't want to be dealing with that while you are stuck in a call from 8 till 3 p.m.
Right.
So that's more on the logistics side. The content, the topic itself, I would say make sure that you choose a student-driven topic. That's something that our team did not really know that we needed to do that from the very beginning. The topic that we were pursuing was something that I have been working on for quite some time, but as you go through iCore, the student is basically the face of the team, and they have to meet with the instructors, they have to give the presentations, they have to be well equipped. So that topic really has to be their bread and butter. So to be fair to them, make sure that it is a topic that is their dissertation, a topic that they are interested in, they are familiar with, because sometimes the workload can be unbalanced on the TL. Since I kind of signed us up for this, so I had to do more interviews, I had to focus more on the summaries, but at the same time, it was also an unbalanced workload on the student, because he also had to be the one presenting, the one answering all those burning questions. So just kind of making sure that we take all of those components into consideration as we go through the iCore program. You can never be too prepared for iCore. We thought our team was on fire. We had 40 interviews scheduled before the kickoff meeting. They were all scheduled for the first 2 weeks of iCore, about 40 interviews. We thought, we're doing a great job. And then we were burning because shortly after we did those 40 interviews, we consumed our network and we didn't have any conferences that we could attend. So it really felt that, okay, we have no more people to reach out to. It's kind of slow. We thought we were doing really well. It's super easy to fall behind, very easy. And you might say, okay, one day it's fine. We'll catch up. Every day counts. That's one thing we learned the hard way. Every day counts at iCore. Every hour counts at iCore. So just having that plan set up with your team, meeting with your industry mentor before iCore begins is important, just so that you become familiar with them. Or we were not familiar with her, but she was awesome. She stepped in whenever we needed help. But I wish we had more conversations before we kicked off iCore. And I also wish we had more conversations as we were going through iCore, just to make sure that any misalignments would be surfaced before we meet with the instructors. So it's kind of important to get our house in order before we go and present to the instructors, because that doesn't really look good on the team whenever the instructor feels that each person had a different opinion on how things are going. And it's really easy to get to that point just because you're so overwhelmed. So if anyone is familiar with the Gartner hype cycle, it felt before iCore excitement, and then you get to the peak, and then you get through the trough of disillusionment. And you just want to power through it just to get to the end of the program. So there are weeks where we just wanted to get through the week just for the sake of getting through the week. But overall, I would say it was a very rewarding experience. Overwhelming, yes. Intense, yes. But the faculty in me, there are so many ideas that I learned that I could easily bring into other projects and other grants that I'm working on. So totally worth it. You just have to power through it.
Yeah, and you point about bringing in the EL, and that a lot of this experience, at least in the national program, is really focused on them being that point of contact, that first point of contact on the team, and giving them that experience. And David, you watched Ning also be that EL and stepping into that leadership role, right? And they really are the lead on the team from the entrepreneurial perspective. And so that experience can be very transformative for them, and very impactful. David, you want to talk a little bit about your perspective on the program and the value both for the faculty side and why they should consider the program, and then also on the EL side.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one thing I'll say right off the bat is that my perspective is a little different because CAR is a research unit. And while we do compete for, government provided grants, we're also bombarded with requests from industry. And so we have kind of a built-in sort of management structure, time management structure. The people that went with when I was doing it regionally, they were all staff. Similarly, with Ning and everything, we were he grew up here at CER, and so he was also familiar with that. So the things that I'll echo right off the bat, it is a time management issue. You have to have a very disciplined approach to it. I think most PIs are pretty used to that. Their charges are probably absolutely not. So it's an opportunity to teach people some things about just getting through things that are outside their necessarily their area of where comfort and expertise sort of butt up against each other. And I'll say right off the bat that that it is a learning process to learn to talk to people where you're usually used to answering questions from a position of expertise, or probing people from a position of expertise. And so there is that difference where you are actually very much gathering information about something that you are absolutely not familiar with. You don't know what they do. You don't know what their worries are. And the learning process in being a TL, I did a lot of interviews, but as you said, the entrepreneurial was the lead of everything. However, a big part of what I did decide what on earth did it mean. What did they told us this? What were they talking about? What do they mean by that? One of the things that business model was figuring out. One of the things that you start to. This goes back to what Katie said: is making it into a business. You have to start saying, okay, what do they really? We might actually be willing to implement this. That was a really interesting and circuitous and originally nebulous, but slowly coming into focus sort of part of the whole thing. Right. Before the end of it, we had a number in mind. It's like they want to be able to reduce their costs by a certain percentage.
Right.
And the beauty of that is that because we had analyzed all that we did along the way, even though we're not talking to them in terms of selling a solution, right?
Yeah.
Think about what we have, right? So all of the customers, we fed back into that. And to our shock, surprise, and delight, we were better than what that was something that would have been completely obscure to us in the absence of all of the work talking to people.
And national program really, does drive towards getting to those specifics around what does the technology actually have to do, and by how much percentage improvement or how much percentage of cost reduction or whatever it might be, what is the actual target that you're going to have to hit to be an attractive solution and to make it worth their while to adopt that technology.
And learning that was, invaluable. The caveat, and I wouldn't just say, you have to realize that this is something that takes time, that you do have to develop. One of the things in my younger life, I acted as I sold computers professionally, And something I learned to do was ask for referrals. And asking for referrals in, who else should I talk to? Who else should I talk to? What do you think? Who else knows about who? It depends on your business and what you're doing. One of the beauties of what we were able to ping pong back and forth because people who are selling admixtures know everybody in cement. Everybody in cement knows back. All of the people who are in the similarly there. When we were talking in the nationals about the environmental regulation, the shocking things that we found out was there aren't any. They didn't that everybody is waiting on everybody else to decide, which is both an interesting opportunity to be able to do that. So anyway, the take home is that you will learn a lot about what you're doing. You'll learn about what your customers want, and then you'll learn a whole lot more. One of the stated aims of the program that I think everybody in research should hear is that this can very much drive the direction that you go forward. What grants you apply for, areas you might not have looked at, hours and things like that you might have never really considered because everything you've done has been funded by NSF or DOE or something like that.
Right.
You may have never considered that. So and then there are all these opportunities that we didn't know anything about, where there are foundations, associations, conglomerates of people in the industries who are aware of their problems and are looking for ways to support people doing research. So it does
thing about the
everything.
program, right, is that it really forces you not just to talk to specific customers, but an entire ecosystem within the industry and really understand the critical problem from multiple stakeholder views and the value they ascribe to solving that problem. And to Katie's point, when you go to raise investment, they're going to want to see expertise in this field and in the industry and a knowledge about how to reach out and gain customers. And so, Katie, you made a great point that this is really going out and doing these interviews and going through this program and learning how to do that is really business development. It's finding your first partners. It's finding your first customers. These are the people you're going to go back to because you already know what specifications they need from your technology, and also what how critical their pain point really is, right? And Katie, I don't know if you've worked with teams post I-Corps and seen them be able to translate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, in advance of this panel, caught up with the Graham to see where they were at, and they were out in Montana doing some more field testing of their net new prototype. So I was really excited to hear that. So since I-Corps, they did a phenomenal job of taking the insights from those 100 plus interviews and translating them into some more product refinements that will then help them understand what the business model implications are. They received more grant funding to start improving the prototype. They've developed new light sensors for it, which is awesome to see the videos of, and are continuing to seek more grant funding to make, stepwise improvements to the system. The enhanced prototype, as I mentioned, looks great, and now they're back out in the field doing more user interviews. What's also been really fun is encouraging them to continue to think about their business model, even if they're still trying to fine tune exactly what will work from sort of an output perspective from the model. So they've looked at everything from licensing through to developing their own technology, and really thinking about that in line with what their personal goals are. I think that's a big one that we forget about when you're founding a business. I always say the strategic vision of your business should also factor in what your life goals are, what you want the next 10 to 15 years of your life to look like. And so it's been really fun to explore that with them. So they've been doing phenomenal, and I'm just really, really proud of the team's progress.
That's amazing. And Alan, as EL, you've continued to work on Pet Validator post the regional I-Corps program and also some of the work they did in the national program. What would you tell for other graduate or PhD students who are looking at joining a Hala or a David in this experience? And what would you say to them about potentially moving forward and applying to the program?
It's an experience that you don't know what's going to come. But now that I've done it, I wish everybody that I knew could go through this process. I mean, that's I had no idea what I was getting into, and but when I finished it, it's even though it's not part of my degree, it was one of the most valuable experiences I had in my graduate program, and I don't say that lightly. It 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 I have a son now that's an undergraduate, and I'm trying to say, hey, if you get an opportunity, you need to jump into one of these programs because it forced me to step outside. I was a systems administrator, network guy, doing cybersecurity. That was my thing. That was my world. It was pretty tight, and I was pretty happy with it. This forced me to step outside of that, and like I said, it is a time commitment. It is work. And but the output of what I've got, or at least the benefit that I've derived from it, is so much more than I've put into it. I mean, I don't know how to say it more than that. There were times that and this is speaking to not just the program but the people running the program. You kept my enthusiasm in check sometimes, which was great. And then sometimes you said, "Hey, you're kind of ignoring this thing that you should be doing," which of course I was ignoring it because I didn't want to do it, and help me redirect that enthusiasm in that direction, and that was incredibly valuable. But just because you have a great idea, just because it is a great idea, just because it works in the lab, it takes so much more than that, and get to see that. I feel like I just got to look into a portal of what it takes, not actually go through it. I'm trying to go through it now.
Right.
So yeah, I wish I could explain the value it is, but until you experience it, you really don't know. All I can tell you is my experience has been, I've met more people, been more exposed to more ideas. I have made more contacts in the last 6 months than
Yeah.
years previous to that, and they're all valuable contacts, not just career wise, but mentors, coaches,
Yeah.
cohort members. It's been an incredible experience.
That's awesome. And I think you touched on a really critical point is as you're moving into your career in research, I think this kind of program really helps you frame a foundation of how you approach research or how you approach problem solving and
Mm,
innovating, whether you decide to stay in academia or you move into industry or you start a startup of your own,
right.
being able to have these skills and understand how to critically identify a problem and look at your solution and figure out how you're going to apply that, if it's a good match or if you need to explore other potential applications. And then, like you said, growing a network, meeting other people, meeting ideas, it kind of expanding that view of what you thought your career was going to go. And now you have all of these great people, not only who could be potential customers for your technology or for your business, but also professional contacts that you learn from and lean on in as you move forward. So I know Katie gave us a great update on Graham Test and kind of where it is in the future, that we're looking at it for looking for them. Alan, where are you at currently with Pet Validator? What's the pathway forward for you guys currently?
Well, so like I said, we continued the customer interview process after the program, uh, mainly because we identified a group of people that we didn't interview, and they were super important. So I've been working on that this summer, and building out the MVP. We applied for KCV. I went through the KCV Fellows Program, which was very valuable.
Yep.
And then we won a KCV Impact Prize, which we are that's our first bit of real funding. And so now we're going through the University Research Grant Office to kind of get that funding on the ground before we can move forward. That's what I was saying earlier. Is sometimes my enthusiasm gets in front of me because I'm ready to go now,
Yep.
and so I have to. It's a valuable lesson to understand that university administrations move at a different pace, and I have to accept that pace. But right now we are preparing. we're preparing our MVP for the research grant office, so we can give our presentation. We're seeking out other sources of funding. We didn't go through the national program with this project. Let's see, let's see, I'm going through the builder program at Vanderbilt. That's kind of our next step as far as I am working on it. I'm hoping to get as much out of that as I got out of Lunch Blue. And kind of just developing the product, interviewing a lot of people, really a lot of veterinarians and those professionals. And to speak to something that was said earlier is there's a group of people that I am not in their expertise. I am not, and it can be intimidating going into them and saying, oh, let me ask you a million questions, or let me hear your story is what I try to do instead. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. We're looking to form a startup, but we're kind of waiting on the university right now to get their okay and approval and that sort of thing.
And yeah, I think between Katie and Alan, both of you talked about how this process helps secure follow-on funding. I know a lot of grants have started working in commercialization aspects or impact aspects to those applications, and these programs like this can definitely help prepare someone to write to the long-term impact of this technology or this research continuing forward, or also fund the project like in Alan's case, and raise investment funding. So the funding piece, I think learning these skills and really validating your market and really understanding who you're serving has a lot of that funding value moving forward. David, do you want to give us an update for you all for the BioValor team?
BioValor and Stillage people are actually working together now, which is exciting. We're because BioValor is a biomass derived solvent, and in the process of processing stillage to make cement, make sure you're going to have a great deal of solid biomass left over. Yeah. One of the things that I would say that having worked with you guys at Launch Blue has done is it has given us a certain amount of walking around credibility here at the university. And so the Beam Institute for Kentucky Spirits has agreed to allow us to have some space to set up equipment to pull off some of the stream from their stills, which is actually at a already at a scale that I would not have imagined 6 months ago. Thousands of gallons, and an implementation will be at millions, but then we'll hand it over to processing, right? At this point, I have to do it. So that's the that's where we are right now. We have outside private investment that has been supporting some of the work that we've done all along. We have some agriculture college, or actually it's BAE, the Biological and Agricultural Engineering funding that Ning has relied on, and now we have also for an application of the BioValor product, we are funded through a university ERPA, which is Energy Research Priority Area. It looks like it's going to be a good fit for an electrolyte for aluminum rechargeable batteries, which is pretty exciting. So there's a lot going on, a lot, and this is where the management part of it is. There are a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, different sites now that we have to keep up with, and a production schedule. That's something that I also had not expected to happen quite as quickly. I'm not arguing with it. I'm just saying I just wasn't expecting it to happen as quickly as it does.
That's right. We all just completed our summer program, right? And now here we are about 6 weeks later, and you're already have met partners now during that process that you're looking at running and setting up this pilot with to continue to explore this implementation. That's really exciting. And also to your leadership as EL, like leading and pushing that forward and seizing on those opportunities and continuing that momentum to capture that.
One of the things that we have, and this is a shout out to UK's ecosystem. We have, as I said, I think that going through this and being able to talk about it intelligently, and having even the schematic, I would call it now, of a business model together, lent enough credibility that we kind of started to unlock some of the resources that are here that allow us to do things, especially at the institute level or the research unit level. Secret is that a lot of times the directors do have the ability to give the blessing to something like that. In my case, it was it's certainly a significant release of my time, so that I'm not writing down time on specific grants. This is something that the director of the center has said is worth pursuit, and the working with the Beam Institute, they're saying, okay, they're cramped. The fact that they're going to give me 40 feet along the back wall is huge. But it also means that when we show this to somebody, it will be in the context of exactly where we want it to be, so that they can see it. And there's magic in doing it. Demonstration is everything. I've learned that. I did product development in industry before I was ever in academia, and so there is magic in the demo, and so we're very excited about it. I think we the main thing is that I'm going to have to have more people.
That's great. That's a great outcome. Hala, what about you all? What's the pathway forward for Data Dose?
So we still have a couple of moving parts on our end. We want to do more customer discoveries. There are two big conferences, the biggest conferences in our field, that we want to make sure we get to, and we talk to more stakeholders. Following the I-Corps program, I had a couple of IMs reach out expressing interest in working with us to invest in the technology and move it forward. But I have to say that there is, although we got a crash course at the end of the I-Corps program related to SBIR funding, licensing, and all of that, it just feels that our team needs some more education to make sure that we are moving with the right path. So that was actually something I was going to bring back to the UK Office of Technology Commercialization, just to find more resources for us to learn about the best path for us moving forward. So there's that learning component about what to do from the financial perspective. And then we were told, as we did the customer discoveries, that people need something to react to in order for them to give you the feedback. So definitely carving out some of the money that I-Corps gave us to building a prototype is something we're interested in. We've got our IM who's got the experience. We've got a handful of other people reaching out to us. So it really goes back to who the team is going to be. Are we adding more folks? Are we making any changes? So we do have some questions that we need to answer internally before we can scale up. We need to pace ourselves, I would say.
Yeah, that's great advice.
I love that. I would just jump onto that, Hala, and say that we often call that in software concepting for user interviews. So as you continue to move down your product development journey, thinking about what is the easiest sketch that I could put in front of someone to help make sure that we're on the same page of what I'm asking for feedback on, whether it's, a small prototype or even just a slide that's kind of mocked up to show a landing page if there is a software component to your development. So I love that, and I just wanted to highlight it and underscore it for folks listening to the recording or in the audience today.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, appreciate it.
Well, with that, I want to go ahead, and I know we have only a couple minutes left, so I want to open up questions for the audience here for our panelists. So if you have questions, feel free to either unmute, or if you'd like to put them in the chat. I know our panelists would be happy to answer those for you.
If everyone's quiet right away, I can ask one.
Go for it.
So loved everything that y'all were saying, obviously. One thing that we see with some faculty here that I don't think they'll ask this question is there's a lot of anxiety about, getting into the program and the time commitments and jumping into something they've never done before, totally outside their wheelhouse. Any advice for anyone who's nervous about going into this and not knowing what to expect?
Jump, go for it. I mean, that you're only going to benefit. It's because I literally had no idea what I was walking into. I had no concept. I agreed to do this. I mean, you probably don't want to hear this now, but days before we started, I came into this so cold, and I came out so excited. I mean, so yeah, if you're nervous, jump, go for it. It really is. I know that sounds a little hokey, but it's so worth it.
I I would add that, if you're a researcher, you have a track record with yourself of having learned a lot of things that you didn't know about. This I've been a practicing chemist for, if you count what I did after my undergraduate in industry, about 30 years. So, and I tomorrow I may have to do something I've never done before. So, now admittedly, it's in an area that is not, it's not what you're used to. But you can believe in yourself that, you have in fact faced down things like this again and again and again and again. There was the first time that you ever presented your research to other people in front of a whole room of hostile. The first the first graduate seminar I gave, I was scared to death. And now I give me 20 minutes to look over something and I'd stand up in front of anybody. I realized that I wouldn't do as good a job, and so I knew what I was talking about. But those days are past. But and I think that the first few times that I called people on the telephone to ask them questions about their business, there was this second of where there's this pause and you think, okay, what goes in here? I don't know. But the beauty of it is, especially because the beauty of the structure of this program is that you are seeking information and you can represent that. And if you set that up in, before you ever talk to them in the acquisition of the interview time, so they know that you're not there to strong arm or jaw hammer them with something that you're trying to sell, and use your academic halo. The fact that we are in the business of acquiring and that has meant a lot. I'm happy for them to underestimate me as just some professorial type. If that disarms them a little bit and makes it easier for them to talk to me, then fine. But I agree completely with Alan. To jump. It's not as far to the water as you think, and the water's plenty deep, and there aren't any sharks, maybe some big fish, but you're going to be fine. But like I said, you've got a track record with yourself of doing things that you weren't once comfortable with.
Yep. Katie and Paula, what would you like to add to that?
I would add that, uncertainty and anything new naturally can make humans nervous. And at the end of the day, uncertainty and newness are core components of innovation. So over time, as you start to get more reps, that nervousness will turn into curiosity. And I think that tracking that, someone once told me that entrepreneurship is the biggest mirror you'll ever look into. And I think this is true for the program as well. So in addition to all the things that we talked about around customer discovery, business model development, having that mirror and kind of reflecting on how you're feeling throughout this process, I think is really important on this note. And then the final thing that I would add is most likely everyone feels just like you. I think in our first session for iCore, a lot of the teams were really nervous. People were nervous to present. If there was an opportunity to speak, it took a while for someone to want to jump in. And by the end of the program, it was so much more seamless. So we can do hard things, especially when we're passionate about the solutions that we're building. And similar to David, I would say just jump.
And
Paula?
I echo everything that has been said. I would say if you have the right team, you have absolutely nothing to fear. You have nothing to lose by participating in the iCore program. You have a lot to win. And you build a lot of really good connections with other colleagues, even if they're not within your same circle. Another really cool thing for me was seeing my graduate student take ownership and leadership. It was extremely rewarding. I was very proud of how much he has improved, how well he was able to think on his feet, answer questions, take constructive criticism. That on its own, as a faculty, as an advisor, was extremely rewarding to see. So yeah, really, you have absolutely nothing to lose by going through the iCore program. Our group, I had 2 major grants that came through the day of the kickoff of the iCore team. Our EL had a major family situation, but I think we had the right people on the team. Everyone stepped in whenever we needed to step in, and we powered through it. So really just make sure you have the right team. People would make the difference.
Yeah, and the regional program really helps that team kind of learn to work together, learn to practice what they would be applying in nationals, and come together and kind of figure out what kind of IM, like Katie, it would be a great fit to join that team and continue on even after these programs to give them advice and mentorship, and really add a lot of value in translating that world between academia and industry. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us together today as we come to the end of our time. Thank you to our panelists for joining and sharing your expertise and your experience. And thank you to everyone on the audience who joined us today for the discussion. If anyone in our audience or watching this recording would like to learn more about our regional iCore program, you can feel free to check out our website, or you can join us for our weekly office hours every Friday from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. We're happy to answer questions either about regionals or about nationals. Thank you all again for being here and walking through not only what you learned in your experience, but also the value for other people and getting us an update on your amazing projects. I would also encourage anyone in the audience to follow Katie. Like I said, Katie works with the venture mentoring team, but she also is an investor and works with startups on the side as an advisor. She's frequently posting things that are great advice for people who are moving in this direction. So you can check her out on LinkedIn. Katie, I hope you don't mind me giving them that permission to do so.
I would love that.
Yes, and it's great to have someone who really understands this world and translating that research and following, getting that insight that she's frequently posting. And with that, I will say farewell to everybody. Thank you all so much again, and we're always here to answer any questions that you have.